Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Bocce Piles channel, where we play Legacy. So I'm back from Eternal Weekend here. I got 117th, and prizes did pay out to the top 128. So, I did min cash and make $125, so that was exciting. But, so I went 7-2 on day one, and on day two, there were 2 more rounds, and I scrubbed out, and I went 0-2, and so I missed my chance for something more like a top 32 finish, which was disappointing. I'm happy with how it went, though, but it wasn't so great that I'm going to go in crazily in depth about it. But I did play Rhinos, and it was pretty solid against the field there. It got me thinking about the channel and, my performance and Magic the Gathering in general. And so I want to do better here. And so historically, we've been a teamer channel, like a teamer tempo type thing. We are going to open it up a little bit here, which brings us to what we're playing today. We're going to play some Bug Aluren. So I guess I'm going to be interested in playing any kind of OG type legacy cards. Aluren is definitely one of these. It's kind of like Food Chain. It's the other green enchantment that's built for going infinite with. And so the shout out to Arcan, aka Legacy_Council on Twitter, who posted this list. And so yeah, Aluren is definitely something that I've played in the past, obviously not on this channel, but it's a pretty classic legacy card. So the plan here is to get an Aluren into play, which makes any card with mana value 3 or less free. And that with Acererak the Archlich, this is going to let us enter a dungeon and do it a whole bunch of times in a row and go infinite. We get to stack a bunch of the triggers. I believe I haven't actually done this in person, but we should be able to stack a bunch of the triggers and keep bouncing it to go through one of these dungeons a whole bunch of times and basically kill our opponent. And so this Aluren list, it plays Orcish Bowmasters. It doesn't play Icefang, Coatl, or Baleful Strix, which is kind of an Aluren mainstay in the past. 1/1 value creatures that draw cards. It fits in well with the Aluren concept, and also Cavern Harpy, which is historically the way this deck goes infinite. We don't have to run any of that nonsense, although we do run this crazy Lich King here. And we play Living Wish, which can also find the win con or other useful things like Karakas or Uro or Endurance, Collector Ouphe, or even Grist the Hunger Tide. And then we got, back to basics out of the sideboard. That's pretty sweet. Carpet of Flowers, Veil of Summeer, a powerful card in unfair matchups. So this deck does a bunch of cool things. We have the Green Sun Zenith package too. So, that's all pretty awesome. Compared to Food Chain, this deck does get to run Delighted Halfling. The Food Chain deck doesn't have a bunch of legends that it really wants to play, whereas this deck has Grist and Leovold and Uro. And the deck really kind of does want a mana dork, and so Aluren gets to utilize this effectively. It is in the bug colors instead of teamer, so we'll have to live with that, but a bunch of powerful options here with Leovold and Grist. And like Orcish Bowmasters, of course. Okay, so yes, this is going to be Bug Aluren. Let's do it. All right, we're going to start out this league on the draw against Amama. And so this hand, one lander, it does have Force of Will, but I don't think this is quite where we want to be. I'm going to mulligan. This hand is a little bit easier for me to keep. It's the old Island Ponder. We can shuffle away this Dryad Arbor, get Leovold out. There's much more of a game plan going on here, so we'll keep. Okay, so the opponent is Serum Powdering here. So does this make me want to mulligan? I don't think I really can afford to. Leovold is good against them trying to go infinite with the One Ring, or use, Voltaic Key and Manifold Key to tap and untap it a bunch of times to draw cards. So we at least have that going on. And then I'm just going to try to ponder and brainstorm to find Force of Wills or set up to win the game as quickly as possible. Defense grid. Well, we're not going to be interacting with our opponent, it would seem. And they have the Mox Opal as well. Okay, well, there's an Aluren, so that's good for winning the game. So Force of Will not doing a lot here. Orcish Bowmaster. I mean, that comes down quicker and kind of is good against the One Ring, but I think I want to shuffle here. I guess what I'm looking for here is like Living Wish. Let's shuffle. All right, Force of Will. We'll pass. All right, the opponent's playing an Urza Saga. If their plan is to make a bunch of construct tokens, that's going to be okay with me. We can probably just beat that with Aluren. But yeah, it's the One Ring, Karn, and the Mystic Forge we have to worry about. We draw Uro, okay? Well, I'm going to Brainstorm here and continue to look for Living Wish. Green Sun Zenith. Now that does accelerate us. So maybe like Force of Will not really seeming all that hot here. I think I might as well put that back. And then we can use Misty Rainforest to get Bayou. I mean, I could get Tropical Island. I guess I don't need double black for anything, right? More likely double blue is better for the Uro. Yeah, I'm not sure why I would get Bayou, right? We have the Underground Sea in hand. Then there's nothing better to Green Sun Zenith for besides the Dryad Arbor, right? I mean, Grist is an okay one. But we won't be able to do that until turn 4, and I just want to make sure we hit our Aluren mana. Yeah, so I'm going to get this Tropical Island, play a Green Sun for 0. It's not a play I think I've done on the channel before, but we can get this Dryad Arbor, which kind of acts like a Landlore Elf here. Yep. All right, so the Urza Saga ticks up. Hopefully they're just on that make construct plan. Or if we do rip the Lich, we could just go off with Aluren, but otherwise we get a Leovold down here next turn. The opponent's tapping mana, a Basalt Monolith. So they're down to 1 card in hand. So is it some crazy bomb that we can't beat? And they're tapping more mana, so that's a little worrying. They've at least used the key this turn, so if it ends up being the One Ring, they can't do the One Ring a whole bunch of times. It is Karn. That's a pretty powerful one. So what do they wish to grab with this Karn? They can't play the Mike and Sylph Lattice, which would completely lock us out, so that is one good thing. Ensnaring Bridge is the get. Okay, well that is fine. We don't plan on attacking to win anyway. And they completely decline to make construct tokens. But I guess this does set them up just to play Mick and Sylph Lattice next turn. Okay, so maybe the play here is to play Grist and then use it to kill the Karn, which stops them from man, I think we get to play Aluren for with Aluren in play. I think Grist comes into play for free, which is pretty insane. So I think we're playing Aluren here. But we can get Grist into play, sacrifice Dryad Arbor to kill Karn, and that'll stop the Mike and Sylph Lattice from happening, which is pretty exciting. Okay, so this Aluren's going to be insane. Yep, we get to put in Leovold into play for free, and play the Mighty Uro here. We'll yield to these triggers. There's a Living Wish, so we win next turn. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah, we'll play Grist for free. We'll sacrifice a creature. Dryad Arbor. And kill the Karn. And man, this is like a wild first game with the deck. So the opponent is making a construct here, but they have Ensnaring Bridge in play, so that's not going to do a whole lot. We'll see what they want to get with this Urza's Saga. I can't imagine there's anything too awesome here. They can maybe remove the Uro with a Soul Guide Lantern. I imagine they'll do something like that. But Mystic Forge seems like their best rip here to draw and play, but well, I guess they have the mana thanks to Voltaic Key. So yeah, Mystic Forge is what I'm scared of here. They go with an Expedition map. Well, I don't think they have the capacity to Boseiju my Aluren here. And Boseiju is something they could grab with the Expedition map, but let's see what the get is. I guess with Mox Opal, they could do it. Okay, but they just get an Urza Saga. But Mox Opal could have made the green mana to activate a Boseiju who endures. But yeah, another Saga is fine. Alright, opponent is just passing the turn. Draw for the turn, and I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and do the thing here with Living Wish. And we'll have a go at this this crazy Lich. All right, so this Lich trigger is on the stack. And we get to, so yeah, we're going to use the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which has this important dark pool here that has the opponent lose a life and us gain it. All right, we'll see how long this takes me to pull off here. We gotta yield to these triggers. All right, Goblin Lair. Yeah, I can see that this is gonna take a long time, but we'll do a few rounds of this and then I'll pause and come back here. So it's the Dark Pool. Okay, so I'm gonna pause and come back. Now you see what the combo looks like here. Okay, we went through a bunch of loops and our opponent conceded there. We're on to game 2. I mean, one thing is that compared to Food Chain, your opponent at least knows that you have it. And so usually if you Imperial Recruit for Walking Ballista, the opponents will concede when they see that you're going infinite. But sometimes, you know, you Imperial Recruit for Squee, and you already have the Ballista in hand, and so they can't see that you have it. But, you know, with this combo, they can see that we have it. And yeah, nice of the opponent to concede there. Okay, so in this matchup, Force of Vigor and Back to Basics seem exciting. They don't use their graveyard, so we don't need the Endurance. And so we just have to figure out 2 other things to cut. I mean, Back to Basics is maybe not needed, but I mean, it does seem like potentially a blowout in some situations. I mean, Orcish Bowmaster doesn't seem that good. I mean, it probably doesn't really stop their One Ring shenanigans. I mean, the other thing I could do is have the Ouphe in the main deck. I mean, Living Wishing for it is pretty slow. Actually, we can just Green Sun Zenith for it too. So I'm actually very happy with that Ouphe in the main deck. Okay. All right, game 2 on the draw. Well, this hand has Force of Will, and Green Sun Zenith for Collector Ouphe is potentially a blowout. We're definitely keeping here. The opponent is using that Serum Powder. All right, the opponent did keep on their 7. Yeah, this card, Serum Powder, lets you exile your hand and go for a new one without having to, you know, mulligan down to 6. It's like a free mulligan. You just have to play Serum Powder in your deck is the drawback. Yeah, the opponent's on a City of Traders Grim Monolith start. So we're saving this Force of Will for some kind of bomb. And that's going to be Mystic Forge, the One Ring, or Karn the Great Creator. So far, their hand is all mana, and they can do that all they want. Well, here's the Karn. Yeah, we're definitely forcing, pitching the Euro. All right, and they are just passing the turn here. And now I have a decision of if I want to green Sun Zenith this turn, which would allow for a turn 2 Grist. Or I could wait until turn 3 to get the Collector Ouphe. I guess that waiting until turn 3 seems like a long time to wait. So I'm inclined to get the basic forest here. We don't have a ton of double blue cards, although there is Uro. All right, I guess I'm just not gonna. I mean, back to basics probably isn't that important in this matchup. Maybe it wasn't worth even boarding in. But I mean, playing back to basics here when the opponent has all kinds of artifact mana here, you can see the futility in that kind of endeavor. All right, so my opponent's last card is Urza's Saga. That's not too frightening. Or at least there will be a couple turns before they kill us. We do get to make some tokens with the Grist, which will gum up the board. Okay, we'll play the basic Swamp. Tap for 3 mana and get this Grist into play. Make an Insect. This does mill cards from the top of our library, and so we could potentially mill Uro, so that's cool. All right, the opponent plays an Urza's Workshop with their turn. Ooh, there's a green Sun Zenith. So I think I just want to get the Ouphe here, right? I mean, that seems pretty potent. Yep. So I'm gonna make a 1/1. Play the Underground Sea. Green Sun Zenith for the Ouphe. And, well, the opponent did not make a construct in response, so that means I can attack with the Dryad Arbor here. No, this thing does tap for 2, because this is an Urza land. Okay, we're not attacking with the Dryad Arbor. The opponent concedes, though. Okay. Okay, we'll be on the play for round 2. Let's see. So this hand has the Dryad Arbor in hand, but it also has Brainstorm and Green Sun Zenith. I'm inclined to try to make this work. Okay. I mean, one thing I could do is just play the Dryad Arbor turn 1 here. I think I am going to do that. And if they want to Wasteland me, that's cool. And we can just Green Sun Zenith for something else and accept that we're not going to get any acceleration here. Although I suppose if the opponent goes Volcanic Island Lightning Bolt here, that would be bad news. But it looks like we are going to fade that. Oh, maybe let's do it on my upkeep. Okay, well, we did fade the upkeep of Lightning Bolt, so that's good news. All right, now, do I want a Living Wish for anything right here? I could Living Wish just to get a land, but you know, I think the obvious play here is to Green Sun Zenith for a Delighted Halfling. So I'm gonna do that. I guess I'm gonna get the Underground Sea to get my mana beneath me. Although I think Tropical Island is fine. This way I can't be wasted off of green. Okay, we are successful with the Green Sun Zenith. Now we've got some mana to work with. All right, the opponent picks the Dryad Arbor for the Wasteland. That's interesting. And they have Swords to Plowshares. Uh-oh, well now we're stuck on mana. But at least we have this Brainstorm to find more with. Or we could just draw a Prismatic Vista. Okay. So, I think I still want the forest here. And I'm just gonna Green Sun Zenith for the Delighted Halfling, and then play Leovold next turn, which is an absolute bomb. I haven't played that card in some time. Well, I guess I did get it down in the previous round, but it's probably going to be pretty impactful against this blue deck. A Leyline Binding. Okay. So Leovold will probably have to wait, sadly. Or we can just play it now. All right, so I'm going to get Underground Sea here and just play the Leovold. I mean, this thing is just an absolute beating in against fair decks. And I got to tap for it properly. All right, Leovold is in. So they go in with a Swords to Plowshares right away. We do get to draw a card, so this is a 2-for-1. I'm okay with that. And the opponent's just passing the turn. Well, if I rip another land, I would Green Sun Zenith for another Leovold. So here, I can play Uro, or I could Living Wish for Wasteland and then take out their Tundra. I kind of like setting them back on mana. All right, Living Wish has resolved. Going to take out that Tundra. So now they're without blue mana. There's an Orcish Bowmaster. We get to use our Brainstorm now. Our own Bowmaster, that's not bad. So we're missing on lands here, but we can Bowmaster and then Ponder next turn. I guess Endurance doesn't seem like it's about to be insane here, although it's not a bad one. We just have like a multitude of options. I'm probably not about to Living Wish again, I would expect. All right, so they're in there with Bowmaster, but we're in there with Wasteland, and we're passing it on back. The opponent draws, swings for 2. And it looks like maybe they're stuck on land. A little delay in our draw step here. So I'm going to Orcish Bowmaster right now so that I can hopefully play this Ponder. And that has gone according to plan. So here's the Ponder. Man, what I really want here is another land, and I think I'm just going to shuffle these. Aluren, okay. The opponent's ready to concede there. Okay. All right, so in this kind of matchup, I'm inclined to bring out the Force of Will. We don't really want to be 2-for-1ing ourselves in the grindy control matchup. Back to basics, Carpet of Flowers, Veil of Summeer, and even Force of Vigor are interesting here. Force of Vigor should take them off their Up the Beanstalk and Leyline bindings. Well, I'm inclined to trim on an Aluren for sure. I mean, you could just board out the whole combo package. That seems maybe a little aggressive. I just need to cut 3 more cards here. I mean, Veil of Summeer, what does it counter besides Force of Will? I mean, probably not that much. And that means I just need 1 more cut. I mean, it's a little questionable if Carpet of Flowers is better than Delighted Halfling, but they're probably going to be trying to get islands. I'll trim a Delighted Halfling. Carpet of Flowers should be fine. Okay, let's do this. I've been thinking about Force of Vigor as a card to play against these up the beanstalk decks with their leyline bindings. And I haven't had the chance to do it yet, but today might be the day. The opponent does start on a basic island. We just hammer the carpet right away here. All right, so I think I'm gonna Prismatic Vista for the forest, or I guess I'll Misty Rainforest for the forest and play carpet. And then I think I'm gonna use my mana efficiently as possible and just use the Brainstorm right away here before they have the Bowmaster. Grist is pretty savage. We'll shuffle away that Dryad Arbor. Pass the turn. There's the up the beanstalk for the opponent. Seems like a pretty good one. So if they have Force of Will here, it's going to be good. But what do I want to slam here? Do I just want to go with the back to basics, or do I want to go with the Grist? I guess I'm going with the back to basics. Okay, they did not immediately have Force of Will, so that's promising. Here's a ponder from the opponent. So I would say we're not getting Bowmaster this turn. So I'll be able to Brainstorm. I at least got to fetch this island to shuffle away that Dryad Arbor. And I guess I probably will Brainstorm on their end step. We're going to have at least 2 5 mana. Maybe I should wait, as we may have extra manas next turn. I think I have to get the island here. If something happens to the Carpet of Flowers. And that means that maybe I will just Brainstorm now, because if I wait until my turn, if I want to get this Grist down, I'm just going to Brainstorm now and be aggressive with it. I think that's fine. Okay. Okay, so now we can get Leovold. That's probably even better than Grist. We'll see if this resolves. It does, so we get to put our Leovold into play. Now we have all kind of permanents that our opponent doesn't want to deal with. Like if they want to kill us back to basics, we get to draw cards. Or this Leovold's just really good against up the beanstalk. Okay, they did get a basic plains, so they got some mana under them. And here they have to take out the Leovold first. We'll use the ability to draw a card. Okay. So they've gotten their Underground Sea. So here comes the Leyline Binding on my back to basics, presumably. Yeah, so they get to do this. But then we're going to blow them out here with Force of Vigor. Probably. So I'm going to do the Force of Vigoring. Just a question of what do I want to pitch here. It's either the Living Wish or the Delighted Halfling. Maybe it's the Living Wish. It seems not the most powerful. All right, well, the opponent does have Force of Will for my Force of Vigor here, so that's good for them. All right, I'm going to clear the top of my library. And we can... Oh man, I forgot I was going to get carpet mana. I think I'll make green. Now I can at least Play Grist. Make a 1/1. Then we can play Uro. Put this land into play. And then I'll play out the Delighted Halfling too. Do I just want to get out another basic forest here? That's probably fine. All right, Delighted Halfling. Okay, we'll pass it back. So the opponent has 4 cards in hand and their draw engine in play, but we get to start playing Uro here, and then we have Grist on board, so that's all good news. Okay, another Beanstalk. Well, that's good stuff for the opponent. And here's another Leyline Binding. All right, well, we might not be able to keep up with the opponent anymore here. All right, so we do get to play this Uro. I guess I'll make blue. Tap this for a green. Get in there, Uro. Exile 5 cards. It doesn't really matter which ones. All right, Uro is in. Well, there's Aluren. I'm going to play this other Uro to draw a card. We'll choose the one that's staying in play. For the old legend rule there. Draw Endurance, okay. I'll get in for 1, and we'll pass it back. All right, Swords to Plowshares on our Uro. The opponent has their own Uro. We'll get to hit that with Endurance. Yeah, I don't think they can get that into play this turn. I am going to do some fetching to thin here. What I'd love to find is a Living Wish. I'll just grab Underground Sea. Back to basics, okay. So we'll use Carpet's ability, make blue mana. I'll play the back to basics first. Opponent cracks that Misty in response. Veil of Summeer, okay. So that's just cycling. Draw a card. And then we'll play this Endurance, which hopefully shuffles that Uro back into our opponent's library. And I'm going to get in for 2 here. All right, opponent's down to 16. Okay, they've played a land in past. So we're up again. Orcish Bowmasters. That's not a terrible one. Decline the carpet. I'll attack for 5. And I think I'm just going to continue to keep the Aluren in my hand a secret. We are steadily beating our opponent down here. And I'll just wait for a good time to put this Orcish Bowmasters into play. So the opponent cracked that Strand on the end step. They're going to cycle Xander's Lounge. I guess I should have Bowmastered in response to that. That was taking my eye off the prize. Well, we'll Bowmaster in response to this Ponder. Okay. They chose to shuffle with their Ponder. They're down to 7 here. So, despite them having their 2 up the Beanstalks, they're pretty darn close to dead here. In fact, we're attacking for the win if they don't up and do something. A Green Sun Zenith. Yeah, I think I'm just going to fire this off here. And get Leovold. Okay, well, the opponent's ready to concede. Okay. Yeah, these grindy control matchups aren't really my specialty skill, but having Aluren as an I win button, I guess we didn't need it there, but yeah, that was pretty sweet. Okay, on the play for round 3. So it's a turn 1 Delighted Halfling hand with cantrips and Force of Will and Grist. I'm definitely keeping. Okay, the opponent's mulligan down to 5 cards. I'm always happy to have Force of Will in that kind of situation. I'm just going to get the Tropical Island here. I suppose that Wasteland would be pretty devastating against us. But if I get like basic Forest, I'm in a weird... I don't have a land to Living Wish for. I'm just going to try to fade Wasteland here. Well, the opponent is griefing us, and there's not much use in forcing this. So hopefully they don't have the protection also. I mean, the good news is we're probably not getting Wastelanded. Well, so hopefully they don't have grief plus the turn 1 combo, is what I was trying to say there. All right, they do take Force of Will. We play Marsh Flats. So does their mulligan to 5 have like protection and the turn 1 combo? It's probably good if they do. Yeah, there's the Entomb. Here's a Lotus Petal. Okay, their last card is not Reanimate. Okay, we draw a Living Wish for the turn. Well, I would like to ponder for a land and then play Living Wish to get this Endurance. But I'm just going to Living Wish for the Endurance. And not, you know, fuck around and find out against my opponent's crazy hand here. Yeah, let's get Endurance. We can Living Wish for Karakas next turn. So that's pretty cool. All right, the opponent's playing Verdant Catacombs. And activating it. And they're going to play the Animate Dead. They don't really have a choice but to walk into it, so it's understandable. We will do the Endurance in response. Shuffle in our opponent's graveyard. And Animate Dead does not have any targets. All right, well, now that the opponent doesn't have anything going on, I am going to go ahead and ponder before doing anything else. These cards look pretty good. So I want to draw the land. I think I'm actually going to stack it like this. So we play the land here, and then we'll draw Uro. And then we'll Uro into the Force of Will. All right, the opponent's passing the turn. So we'll crack the Prismatic Vista. I need a forest or an island. I guess I'll get the forest in case I draw Endurance. Oh, that's foolish. Now the Force of Will is no longer on top of my library. Okay, well, I almost did it correctly. All right, I guess I'm gonna ponder here. All lands. That's not that exciting. Leovold is maybe okay. I am gonna fire off the Living Wish and grab the Karakas. I mean, I could Wasteland their bad lands, but I think having the Karakas in play is probably good. It's at least some kind of protection against their legends. All right, the opponent is going to do some faithless looting. They don't discard a fatty. I am going to get this Leovold into play. I guess I must have had the opportunity to play Leovold last turn and I didn't. It probably would have been smart to get that into play just because of faithless looting. But I don't know. Having Karakas in play is good too. This definitely limits what our opponent can do. I mean, Atraxa is a legend, and it lets them, you know, look at the top 10 cards of their library, and it's not drawing cards, so it gets through the Leovold. but Karakas would bounce that. I'm going to attack with Leovold here. And then I can just play Uro, or I can try to Brainstorm an Orcish Bowmaster. Okay, so this is going to draw cards if they target me with it, or anything I control. They're targeting the Leovold, okay? So if they try to block and kill the Leovold, we get to bounce it with Karakas and play it again. Oh, I see. It makes a whole bunch of like triggers. Or maybe it doesn't. Okay, that was just the same trigger all resolving. Anyway. I guess I'm just gonna bounce the Leovold here and play it again. So I probably should have brainstormed in response to the Bowmasters. I was busy thinking about my Leovold. And I suppose that their Bowmasters pose a bit of a problem since I have all these Brainstorms in hand. All right, looking at my sideboard here, what I can do... Oh, well, we drew Bowmaster. I was going to say that we should Living Wish for Grist. But if I have my own Bowmaster, we can just do that and pick off their Bowmaster. And I'll attack with a Leovold. I could play Uro here, but I think I want to just hold up Brainstorm. We have a threat on the board, and I might need to dig for a Force of Will or Endurance. Okay, so they're going to have Faithless Looting just to discard 2 cards. So they must have a fatty in hand, is what that would suggest. Oh, or maybe they forgot about it because they went ahead and conceded. All right, so out of the sideboard, Veil of Summeer looking good. I think the Endurance we can keep in the sideboard. It's a good thing to do with Living Wish on turn 2. Although there is Karakas to get also. Maybe more early interaction is good. As long as I'm leaving Karakas in the sideboard, maybe I do bring in the Endurance. I mean, this is a matchup where we're probably not comboing off with the Aluren. And so I could just bring in a Grist and an Uro. Back to basics is potentially maybe better than another Grist. I don't know. On the other hand, I mean, Grist being able to kill things, I can see that being important. All right, well, I just saw a notification that my opponent has conceded. Yeah, we've been waiting for a minute here for game 2 to start. About 6 minutes, it would seem. Okay, the opponent reconnected here. So our opening hand has Force of Will and no blue card and no interaction. The opponent kept on 7, so sadly I think that this one is a mulligan. And this hand has no interaction either. I guess I'm going to 5. All right, well, this hand has some interaction. And I guess Delighted Halfling has to go, and we're just going to ride with this Force of Will. It's a ride or die hand. Well, the opponent has Grief, so that'll take our Force of Will, and then we won't have much going on. All right, they do take a Force of Will. They're cracking the Catacombs, so I guess my money's on them reanimating this Grief. And that is exactly what happens. All right, they take the Living Wish. So if we draw a blue card, at least we still have some interaction going on. But we drew Tropical Island, but we're not immediately about to die, so that is good. All right, here's an Entomb from the opponent. They get a Traxa. It looks like they have a reanimation spell. All right, so we're going to probably be conceding once we see the 10 cards. The Troll of Khazad-dûm, the Grief Exhume, Animate Dead, Shieldred. That's good to know about. All right, we can go ahead and scoop it up here. We did not get there. All right, so do I want to do anything different for game 3? So the good news is Veil of Summeer can protect us from their discard spells. Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty unlikely we're going to get to kill them with Aluren. So I think I'm just going to be running it back here. I mean, maybe this back to basics can like lock them out. I mean, Uro's a little bit slow too. I like the idea of having a blue creature that I can Living Wish for. All right, so we'll try the 2 back to basics. And that'll have to be our win con instead of Aluren. All right, so I'm going to keep this hand that at least has endurance. And then I think I'm going to open up on Ponder. And we're going to look for some kind of interaction. I guess I'll get the Tropical Island. There's the back to basics. We'll just shuffle. Okay. Well, hopefully this 1 endurance can do work. Thoughtseize, okay. They took Uro instead of the endurance. I wonder if that was like a misclick maybe. I mean, Uro is almost better in the graveyard. Anyway. So the Orcish Bowmaster is good against my opponent's Bowmasters. They don't immediately have that. I think I kind of want to put back the Delighted Halfling and be holding up Brainstorm in case the opponent does something I need to force a will here. So let's go in that direction. Although we're in a slightly tricky situation with the mana. Ooh, Wasteland for the opponent here. Shieldred the Apocalypse. Okay. Maybe that's why they took Uro? Well, anyway, I'm going to Brainstorm in response to this. And I guess I have to get Underground Sea. Which does prevent us from doing the endurance thing, sadly. But Grist is a great answer to this Shieldred. And we're going to be able to Green Sun Zenith for that soon. So that is good. So I guess I'm going to hide the Orcish Bowmaster. I'm going to play Leovold this turn, and then we're going to... maybe I won't play Leovold this turn. Maybe I'll play Orcish Bowmaster and Delighted Halfling. And then, because we need a creature to sacrifice to... the Grist. Okay, so I think I can get rid of the basic island. And I guess we'll have Leovold in hand. Okay, I think that gives me everything that I want. Okay. All right, so Shieldred's in. Okay, I guess this Wasteland, though, is good against us. And stopping But the island's still on top of my deck, so we're going to be okay. Because we need 4 mana to Green Sun Zenith. For the Grist. All right, the opponent, yeah, they're gaining some life off Shieldred, playing Dark Ritual. It looks like they've done the old Dark Ritual pass. Okay, it's an unusual one. I don't know if they're going to play a second Shieldred and then realized that is not a very effective strat. They're going to pitch cast the Grief. Okay, so I imagine they're going to take my Green Sun Zenith here, sadly. But maybe they mess this up and don't take it and take like the Leovold or Endurance instead. Or maybe Orcish Bowmasters. They do take Endurance, okay. I mean, they can combo off, but at least we're not going to be dying to this Shieldred immediately. So maybe I could have actually hidden that Endurance on top of my deck. So they're going to take out the Underground Sea. That is fine. So I'm going to attack with the 2 Bowmasters. That Wasteland's going to make it harder for them to entomb something that's super scary and play it and like reanimate it all in one turn. Oh, I tapped my halfling the wrong way. Need colorless mana. Okay, here's the Grist. We'll get rid of the army token. Take out the Shieldred. And we are in this game. All right, the opponent looks to be passing the turn, which is exciting news for us. So we get to make this 1/1. And so is it better to Living Wish for Karakas or get this Leovold into play? It's probably better to Living Wish for the Karakas, where we have the Orcish Bowmaster as an anti-card draw deterrent already. So I guess I will do that now. Oh, and there's a concession. Okay. So our opponent was last seen playing Grixis Tempo in Legacy. I mean, this hand really does not do a lot. And we're on the draw here, so I guess it's a mulligan. This does look more reasonable. I'll keep here and put back the Archlich, which is useless without the Aluren. All right, the opponent does the old do nothing on their first turn, so that's interesting. Now as for me, do I want to turn 1 Green Sun for 0? I think so. Yeah, I'll just use the Prismatic Vista and get the basic forest in, do the Green Sun for 0. Yep, that's the plan. I'm sticking to it. Okay, get the Arbor into play, and we'll pass it back. Oh, okay, well now the opponent is playing spells, and it's a Lotus Petal. So that's a little scary. Oh, and they are griefing us. So I guess it's another Reanimator scam type strat. Okay, they do take the Living Wish. Hopefully they like pass the turn here. but it doesn't look like it. But if they just reanimate the Grief and take our Ponder, I mean, that's acceptable. Dark Ritual. Well, it looks like they're doing more than just reanimating the Grief. Entomb. Okay, they've gotten their Archon of Cruelty. They're gonna reanimate it. I mean, this is pretty unbeatable. All right, so this Archon, you know, attacks for 6, then deals an extra 3, so it does 9. So I don't think there's too much chance of coming out of this, but I guess I can play it out and, you know, at least fire off this Ponder and see what happens. Well, this thing does target, but if I play the Leovold next turn, yeah, I don't think it really does anything in amount of time that matters. And yeah, I'm just not going to be able to get this Uro into play. All right, well, I guess I'll see my last draw step. I guess, now, yeah, not even Living Wish until like Karakas does it because the Archon is not a legend. Ha! I don't have anything you can discard with Thoughtseize. Take that, opponent. All right, I guess I'll discard a... I mean, the mana is all set. I guess I'll discard a Verdant Catacombs. Do draw a Living Wish, but yeah, there's just nothing I can wish for that's going to do it here, right? Yeah, no. All right, I'll concede. All right, I'm just going to pretty much run back to same sideboarding as last time and, you know, board out the Aluren combo. Leave Uro in the sideboard as a card to Living Wish for. That's blue. Not doing the back to basics. I did bring in a Wasteland. And it's just so hard to imagine actually getting to do the Aluren thing against this Reanimator opponent. Well, this hand is like the bomb diggity, what with Veil of Summeer and then Endurance and Force plus blue card. It's pretty much all my wildest dreams coming true. Okay. Opponent settles on a mulligan to 5. We're going to hold up Veil of Summeer. It's pretty obvious what we're doing, but I don't see any way around that. The opponent's going to do a Badlands into Faithless Looting. That's fine with me. Okay. The opponent discards a Grief and a Dark Ritual off their Faithless Looting. Passes it back. We do draw that Wasteland. So do I want to Wasteland their Badlands here? I think that seems fine. This gives me another chance to draw another blue card, which I don't hate. The blue card means I can like ponder without having to worry about finding another blue card to pitch to Force of Will. Grist the Hunger Tide. Okay. So here, I can Green Sun for 1. And then if we Veil of Summeer, I don't have access to blue mana. I think I'm just going to take my chances with the Ponder here. Even if I don't have a blue card in hand, we still have the Endurance protected by Veil of Summeer with which to do the thing. So let's play this Ponder. Okay, we did find a blue card and an Orcish Bowmaster and another land. Those are certainly good things to have. So I'll put the blue card in hand and we'll draw the land and pass the turn. Okay, the opponent is just continuing to pass the turn there. So I have a window to like Green Sun for 1, although the opponents are Green Sun for 0 and get the Dryad Arbor, or I suppose I could get Delighted Halfling. But the opponent's kind of showing Orcish Bowmaster here. I guess the The halfling would play around that pretty effectively. But if the opponent does play Orcish Bowmaster here, I think I'd like to Brainstorm in response. Alright, they're cracking Bloodstained Mire and Verdant Catacombs. And they're playing Serenity. Okay. Well, that doesn't do anything. I guess I'm going to end step in the Brainstorm. End step Brainstorm playing around the Bowmaster, unless they Dark Ritual into it, which they don't. And I think I can put back a Grist and a Halfling here. Yeah, Serenity really just kills all enchantments and artifacts. I guess the deck we're playing is one that might have access to Leyline of the Void, so it makes sense. I'm going to get this Bayou, which helps enable the Endurance Hardcast, and get this Orcish Bowmaster into play, which does present a clock. And they're going to Entomb now. That's fine. They get Gristlebrand, which I would say is not at its best against the Orcish Bowmaster compared to like Atraxa. But in any case, I think we're okay anyway, especially with all these Veils of Summer. Oh yeah, so I'm just gonna hold a Veil of Summer. So this Serenity happens. Okay, the opponent's going for an Exhume. Well, I am going to Hardcast Endurance. Okay, and the opponent's ready to concede. Okay. I don't think I want to make any changes for game 3, although I think we are a little light on blue cards. Which hasn't really come up all game. But bringing in the back to basics would just be some additional blue cards instead of like the Wasteland. It's like 18 blue cards. Okay. All right, the opponent mulligans to 6, and this hand unfortunately does a whole lot of nothing, so I'm going to mulligan. Okay, now we have Force plus Endurance, the Orcish Bowmaster, so I'm going to definitely keep this one, and we're hoping to find a green card. It is a question of would I prefer to put back the Orcish Bowmaster or the third land. I gotta think we'll find another mana source in the next couple turns. An Orcish Bowmaster does potentially do something against like a Gristlebrand or Faithless Looting. So I guess I'm gonna run with this. Okay, the opponent cracks a Bloodstained Mire, and its basic swamp into Thoughtseize. So I wonder if it'll take Ponder, or if they'll take Force of Will or Endurance. If they do take the Ponder, like any green or blue card is good, but if they take the Force or the Endurance, they're getting the card they actually care about. I suppose if they have like Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, Entomb, and a Reanimator effect, then taking Force of Will would make the most sense. Yeah, they do go with the Ponder. They have the Lotus Petal. Okay, they pass the turn. So what we need to do here is draw a blue or a green card. Okay, that was neither. Well, we're probably dead. Yeah, there's the Entomb. And here comes the Reanimate. Animate dead, that'll do it. Yeah, I mean, if we had Orcish Bowmaster in play, that would be cool. I guess if they don't immediately get another fatty into play and we get this Orcish Bowmaster out, maybe we have something going on. Okay, they've committed to going to 3 life. They crack Bloodstained Mire. Evoke Grief. And they take Orcish Bowmaster, and that's probably the right choice. Evoke another Grief. Take our Endurance. Play Dark Ritual. Entomb. Alright, they've got Atraxa. I'm sure they're about to reanimate it here. And we can move on to the final round. Yup. Okay. Okay, round 5 on the play. I would say this hand looks pretty keepable. We got some interaction, some Bowmasters, a Living Wish. Those seem like good things. We're a little bit short on mana. But if we can find some lands in our draw steps, we should be all set. So I will lead off with a Verdant Catacombs and pass. Okay, so the opponent plays a Snow-Covered Plains and passes. So I don't know if that means we're up against Death and Taxes. I guess you'd have to think so. But I suppose it could still be a 4 to 5 color control deck. Delighted Halfling qualifies as mana, so that's good news for us. An Urza's Saga. Okay, so it's probably some kind of mono-white painter type thing. The Hushbringer. Okay, so Acererak, or the Crazy Lich Wincon, is an enter the battlefield trigger. And this thing lets them probably put Phyrexian Dreadnoughts into play off their Urza Saga. So I think I'm fine just to Force of Will this. On Aluren. I think the play for me here is to wish for the Lich. And once I get my 4th mana, we'll just win the game. Alright, their Saga takes up to 2. Now the Lich just does give away what we're doing. And I could have maybe gotten Grist there. But the Grist doesn't do anything until next turn. And if we just find the Aluren, well, the Hushbringer, maybe that was a boneheaded play then. If they just have another Hushbringer. And unfortunately, we don't have a way to kill this thing. So I guess I got ahead of myself. And now they have Phyrexian Dreadnought. And Grist would have definitely been good on this kind of board position. Yeah. I just don't have anything I can do about this. I mean, I suppose I could draw Grist next turn. Alright, I'm gonna pass here. Yeah, we cannot attack into their Phyrexian Dreadnought. So they'll probably get another Phyrexian Dreadnought here. I mean, if we draw Grist on our turn, we can play Aluren and then play Grist and win the game. Ether Vial, that's cool. Yeah, they get in for 12 with their Phyrexian Dreadnought. So I guess I'm going to fetch to thin here while we look for Grist. I mean, I guess what I should have done is put Aluren into play last turn. And then if I had drawn Greenstone Zenith, that would have been an out also to find the Grist. But now we are just dead. Okay. Yeah, so one thing about this Aluren deck is it does not play removal. beyond the Orcish Bowmaster. And so the Hushbringer is well equipped to just ignore it. But back to basics and Force of Vigor look good against what our opponent's doing. The Ouphe is something I could bring in as well. So I think this is probably not an Orcish Bowmaster matchup. Endurance doesn't seem super important either. I mean, Grist is our removal, so I guess I'll max out on the Grist. Alternatively, I could leave that Grist in the sideboard and bring in the Ouphe, which could shut off their Ether Vials. But we have Force of Vigor. I think the Grist is good, and the Ouphe is a fine Living Wish target. Well, if they play Ether Vial, the Ouphe is probably pretty good. And then we can access the Grist through Living Wish as well. Okay, well, let's give it another shot here. This hand is a little slow, but Force of Vigor is good against what our opponent's doing, and we can fix our hand with Brainstorm, so this all seems fine to me. I think I'm gonna play the Prismatic Vista and just go ahead and fetch the island here. And we'll see what kind of pressure our opponent's putting us under here. A turn 1 Giver of Runes. That is okay. Now, do I want to Brainstorm now? There's not that many 2-drops in the deck. Well, the Living Wish is one of them. I'm just going to Brainstorm now, though. We do hit a Delighted Halfling. Boseiju is a good one. So I guess I'm looking at putting back another land here. Okay, I think I'm going to get the Bayou and play the Delighted Halfling. And pass the turn. Swords to Plowshares. Okay. Wasteland. Okay. It's a little less exciting. I wasn't sure if our opponent played Wasteland. Obviously they do. Misty Rainforest, that's a good draw. There's a Saga, okay. And Painter's Servant. Okay, so the Painter's Servant can get Grindstone off this Urza Saga, I have to imagine is the plan. So I think I'll probably just Boseiju the Painter's Servant right now. So I no longer have my Bayou, but I also don't really need black mana. I guess I'll just get my Forest. And take out the Painter's Servant. Oh, right. Boseiju is now white. Oh, man. I was thinking, you know, Boseiju is... Okay, all right. It still is... It does work. Okay. I'm not really sure why it didn't work. Maybe just because it's an ability. Okay. Well, it did work. All right. Anyway. Ooh, I found a Grist, but now I don't have the mana to cast it. And I probably should have Force of Vigor at the Urza Saga. Well, I can do the Force of Vigor on the Urza Saga now. Or on their upkeep there is what I mean. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna play the arrow. Well, I felt like I played this league pretty well heretofore, but we're getting some unusual situations. getting a little dicey. So we shan't put a land in. So what do I have in my sideboard to Living Wish for? The Grist is still in there. So I think I'm going to Force of Vigor, pitching the Grist in my upkeep, or their upkeep here, before they get to make constructs that they can protect with the Giver of Runes. Yeah, most of the creatures they could put into play, they can just protect with the Giver of Runes. So I'm just taking out the Saga now. They, of course, immediately have another Saga. And an Aethersworn Canonist. And a Soul Guide Lantern. Okay, that's all very good against what we're trying to do here. We draw a Delighted Halfling. So I can play the Grist. Sorry, I can play the Halfling and then wish for the Grist. Could also wish for Wasteland to keep them off the Urza Saga. Or I could wish for Uro as well. I think I'm going to wish for Uro here. Well, they have the Soul Guide Lantern in play, so that doesn't seem very good. Oh, and I can't Living Wish this turn anyway because I played the Halfling. Well, I mean, I guess I got greedy with a Force of Vigor. But I only would have been able to hit another Urza Saga. Because they can protect the Aethersworn Canonist with the Giver of Runes. Well, there's an Aluren. But, it's all going to be mighty slow. I guess I can play the Aluren and then wish for the Grist next turn and then play the Grist on their turn and just try to be buying time with Grist. It's like the best play that I've got that I can think of. All right, so they make a construct token. Saga ticks up here. Man, I guess wishing for the Grist is pretty bad. It still doesn't really solve the Giver of Runes problem. And the Soul Guide Lantern just bricks potential Uros. What I need is like a sudden shock. Okay, well there's a second Living Wish. Man, there's just no way for me to get this Aethersworn Canonist off the table. We're so close and yet so far here. I'm looking at all the dungeons right now because we could Living Wish and then start working our way through one of these dungeons. So this one makes 1/1s. None of these. Yawning Portal would gain me some life. Into scrying one. More scries. Like drawing cards might be okay. This is going to take a long time to get through. Maybe though. So I'm at 13. So I can wish for the Lich and start scrying for like 1. But they're just going to attack with a whole bunch of guys here. it's all very slow. I mean, I could wish for the Grist. And I could try to kill the Ether and Sworn Canonist, but then they just tap the Giver of Runes. We're so close. Just the Giver of Runes is absolutely brutal. Well, I'm going to play the Living Wish. It's my one spell for the turn. It resolves. I mean, it'll make a chump blocker. I can Lich on their turn. Like we Lich on their turn, we make a 1/1. It just doesn't seem fast enough. Like Uro gaining life and drawing a card seems cool. And I could do that on their turn. So maybe that's the direction to go. Any of these things can be played as an instant thanks to Aluren. Okay, this gives them flash. I think man. What a conundrum. All right, I think I'm just gonna go with Uro here and hope to draw something good and gain some life. It at least keeps me alive for one turn. But man, that Ether Sworn Canonist is a bummer. They're gonna Swords my Halfling. Yep, that's fine. Not that we can respond with spells anyway. And play another Ether Sworn Canonist. Oh, that's a non-artifact, so they get to play 2 spells. So that grows their board. So they're attacking for 14, 16, 17. Well, the Force of Vigor play back there was maybe good if they didn't have everything. But they sure did have everything. Anyway, we'll draw a card here. I just don't know how I can beat the 2 Ether Sworn Canonists. It's still 18, isn't it? Okay. Well, we had to settle for a 3-2 record there. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it was a little dicey at the end, but on the whole, the deck is pretty sweet. I mean, we destroyed the one fair deck, you know, the 4 to 5 color beans, and the mono brown was an unfair strategy that we could pretty easily take advantage of the way the deck is constructed. I mean, this deck, playing a big bulky enchantment is always going to be rough against Reanimator. It's just hard to have a lot of interaction. Although this deck probably is better set up. Like Imperial Recruiter costs 3 and Living Wish only costs 2. It's more likely you'll be able to Living Wish to get that endurance in a time frame that matters. And then this mono white painter Nought deck in the last round. I mean, maybe I could have played a little bit better, but playing against that crazy, the Hushwing Griff or whatever it was, the thing that removes the triggered abilities of creatures entering the battlefield, and also being an Ether Sworn Canonist deck, is pretty rough. But I would think that this deck would crush pretty much any blue deck. I mean, that white deck is also pretty well set up where having our only removal be Orcish Bowmaster is pretty effective. And well, the Giver of Runes, also very effective against the Grist there. Although I probably could have played that better. It was just like a tricky spot there. Well, anyway, the Bug Aluren I think was pretty sweet. definitely the kind of thing that I think is on brand for the channel, some kind of classical legacy stuff. So, if you like this kind of thing, please like, comment, or subscribe. We have some exciting videos coming out this week. Dreadnoughts, mono blue dreadnoughts tomorrow, some rhinos and some other stuff. So, yes, subscribe to the channel and we'll see you soon. All right, thanks. Bye.